All right. Back at it. Happy Thursday, almost Friday, everyone. Super excited to be back doing the hot seats and jam sessions on Thursday. I hope everyone had a great holiday. I always like the holiday season, lets us get ahead, build some new things for the year. We got some awesome upgrades coming for PGA as always. You know, we're always looking for things to upgrade. Drop in the chat. One of the things we're going to talk about today is brainstorming organic content ideas. We're going to do a hot seat first, but afterwards, brainstorming organic content ideas for lead gen. So everyone, I want you just percolating or questions you have around that topic. And we're going to do a little exercise together. But if any questions or ideas come to mind, drop them in the chat so we don't forget. And I'll keep tabs on them as we go. Awesome. Great to see everyone here. Love seeing some familiar faces. What's up, Scotty? Good to see you. Jesse, hope you had a good holiday. Sweet. All right. Let's dive in. We got a lot of stuff I want to cover. All right. So first thing we're going to dig into, Stella, we're going to do a quick hot seat on, this is a client project that's in the works. Hey, Stella, what's going on?
Hello, how's it going?
I'm doing great. Okay. So this is the landing page that you put together. You want to just give me a quick nutshell on what this is, who it's for? Is this for a client you're pitching or a client that you've closed?
Yeah, so this is a client that I've closed. This is basically the landing page for their EEC, and it's about video marketing. So they run a video marketing agency, but this is to close people on a community that they have. But essentially, the landing page is about that. Sorry, the EEC is about generate 50,000 organic views for a B2B service business. And yeah, that's pretty much it. But I would love some feedback on the landing page. If there's anything that stands out to you that could be better about it. In January, we're going to run paid ads to this because he planned on doing paid ads. And so that was my easy sell on the sales call of like, oh, you want to run paid ads? This would be absolutely perfect if we implemented this. So yeah.
Amazing. Okay, this is great. So just to confirm, so this is for a client that does video marketing or is like a YouTube agency maybe for B2B service companies. So they want to attract B2B service businesses.
Yeah, that's exactly right. What they do is inside their community, they teach everything about video marketing. So short form, YouTube, anything you could think of in terms of video marketing, that's what they teach, and that's what they help B2B service businesses do. Hey, here's how to help you land your dream clients through video marketing, posting videos online.
Got it. Okay. And how much is their community?
Their community is, I can double check. I think it was $250 per month, something along those lines.
Okay. Because for everyone here, the reason I'm asking is because you're going to end up thinking about it in different ways if you're bringing someone into like a high ticket offer versus a low ticket offer, and just like where you want to just sort of understand or think about like where is this all heading for someone who types in their email, right?
Yeah.
So high level, this is great. Like you're hitting on all of the right things. It's very clear what this is about. There's a very tangible, measurable outcome, which is generate 50,000 plus organic views. There's a specific a specific audience. So for B2B service businesses, which is amazing. It's one of the first things that I always look for. And then you have an awesome credibility statement, which is coming from someone who's generated 10 million plus views, right? Because someone's going to look at this and go, okay, that all sounds great, but is this really going to work for me? And are you someone who has done this, right? So you're hitting all the right things. Visual looks great. Awesome. These up here in the upper right-hand corner are also great because these are the hesitations. So do you feel like you post into the void and only get 10 views per video? Yes. Like almost everyone feels that way, right? Are you struggling to never land clients from your content? Yes. Are you struggling to come up with captivating video ideas? Yes. So all of this is, you're hitting on all the right things. The only upgrade or the only thing that I would push on or think a little bit more about is whenever you think of offers, so there's sort of a hierarchy to offer creation. And a shiny object or like an easy one is, boy, the light's really coming through heavy here. I want to close this blind. It's not like getting all, it got super hot all of a sudden here in my office. Okay. So one of the things that you have to consider is whenever you're doing offer creation, the easy thing to do is to settle for like a shiny object, like, oh, do you want to get a bunch of views? And everyone's like, yeah, views are great, or followers are great, or like vanity metrics are great. But the reason I asked about the price point is because ultimately you want them to spend money, right? At the end of this free course, you want to pitch them on some sort of resource that's like, hey, you should invest in yourself. And so whenever I hear that, I tend to want to push to the second thing, which is they don't really care about the attention. They care about what the attention brings them, right? And what does everyone want attention for? They want attention to close certain types of clients, right? Or make a certain amount of money. So truthfully, like this landing page, I think would work great. Like you're already 90, 95% of the way there. But if we were to push this, we might consider changing this subtitle, and I'll do it in the chat here, changing this subtitle to a free 5-day step-by-step guide to generate 50,000 plus organic views, and start attracting, and then specific like price point, like maybe 3K to 10K a month clients for your B2B service business. So you're combining the, yeah, you want views, but really you want views that lead to a certain type of clients. And the reason I think it's important to put a dollar figure in there is because B2B or any business or any industry really is very broad, you know? And so it's like you're going to attract someone very different if you're like, you're going after $500 a month clients versus $5,000 a month clients versus $50,000 a month clients.
Mhm.
You know, does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes total sense. Yeah.
And then, and if you decide, I mean, the thing is, you could always create two versions of this and test them, right? You could always be
Mm.
like, maybe, you know, it depends on how savvy they are with paid ads, but someone who's savvy with paid ads might go, let's try one that's just focused on views, and let's try another that's just focused on financial outcomes, and let's see which one performs better. I mean, you could always do that. And then if you're going to focus one on the financial outcome, you could consider changing your whisper as well. So anyone have any ideas? Maybe drop in the chat. If you make the subtitle more financial, what might a whisper be?
Could be like I could ask him like how much revenue he's generated from video marketing, like how many clients he's closed, and put that in there.
Yeah. So what if your whisper was coming from someone who has closed $1 million in new business from video,
Mm. Mm.
right? Like, and the thing is, when you kind of put these two side by side, you're like, yeah, both work, but everyone here prefers the one with the dollar sign on it. You know,
Mhm.
like it's one of those, like, it's so simple, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. When in doubt, you almost always want to find a way to price anchor to value in some way. You don't always have to do it, and this would probably work without it, but if you have that option, it almost always performs better.
Cool.
Make sense, Stella?
Yeah, that makes sense. My question for you would be, in terms of the content itself, obviously you always say we want to make sure we deliver on the headline and not disappoint. Would there need to be anything that changes about the actual content itself, or does it not matter too much because those same principles are also going to help with the financial outcome and we're just painting it on the wall more clearly?
Most of the time it's the latter,
Mm.
you know? Um, I tend to notice that whenever I workshop this with writers, there is that initial hesitation of like, if I price anchor to value, like financial value, like start attracting 3,000 to 10,000 a month clients, right? And you're like, this is a 5-day step-by-step guide. There's this hesitation by saying, well, am I lying? Like, what if they don't close a $10,000 a month client in 5 days, right? And you have to separate and realize that's not really what you're promising. What you're promising is you're going to explain how it works over 5 days,
Mhm.
right? And that is like you explain it and then you're like, yeah, now you have to go implement all these things, you know?
I actually got that objection on a sales call because I was looking at someone's lead magnet and landing page, and I said, "This is not tangible." I said, "You need to like add some numbers to this." I explained to him, but he said, "But yeah, but what if I can't do that? What if like I'm promising this thing? What if I don't promise?" And something else that also helped me as well is like it's he must be used to the thinking because he's a agency owner that he's responsible for the outcome, but the reader is responsible for the outcome because, as you said, they have to actually implement the principles to get there. So that was what I explained to him, so that was
Yeah.
kind of interesting.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of times whenever if you're on a sales call and someone gives you that objection, you have to recognize that that objection isn't rooted in something that's true. That objection is rooted in they don't know, right? Or it's a faulty belief. And so a lot of times if it happens in a sales call, I notice that people then sort of back off and they're like, I don't know. It sounds like you've already made up your mind with this, right? And you should hear that instead and go, oh, I need to educate you on how this game works. Like, this is how it works. Otherwise, you're not going to be successful at it. So, yeah, seeing it as an opportunity and not an obstacle.
Totally. And one of the biggest things I think good takeaway for everyone is when it's come to cold outreach or sales, I've had so many messages saying, "Wow, you're so persistent," or like, things like that. And it's like the understanding that when someone says no, unless it's like, "Hey, like really, like it's a no, like I'm so swamped." Obviously I'm not that annoying, but like don't be afraid to, yeah, just provide value because there was so many opportunities that I felt like I was missing out on when I used to do cold outreach that now I'm just like follow up, follow up, follow up, follow up, educate.
Yeah.
So many more opportunities. So it's a really big takeaway.
Yeah. I really hope, it's just the nature of, everyone here. If you're in PGA, one of the things that you need to recognize is even just being on a call like this, 99.9% of people on planet Earth do not understand any of the things we are talking about on this call. There's CEOs of billion-dollar companies that don't understand what we're talking about on this call, right? And so you need to recognize it's almost like being able to see the vacuum that you're in. Inside PGA, you're in a vacuum of information. And because you're in it, it's almost like you take it for granted, where you sort of think that everyone else knows these things too, and they don't, right? So your opportunity is when you talk to someone, you go, "Oh, you don't actually know how a landing page works. You don't know how offer creation works, right? You don't understand how to construct a really captivating headline and subtitle. Let me help you. Let me educate you." Right? Whereas most writers are like, "Oh, you said you didn't like it that way, so I guess like you must know more than me." No, they don't. They have no idea. They don't even know why they have that opinion, you know? So that's why so much of this is not taking the knowledge you have for granted and just educating people on all of the things that you're learning. But yeah, Stella, this landing page is awesome. Really great work.
Awesome.
Nothing
Cool.
else I would change. Any other questions you had on it?
Um, no, I don't think I had any other questions. I think that was pretty much it. So yeah, I wanted to see if you saw anything that I maybe necessarily didn't see. Um, but other than that, no.
Yeah, Gareth has a fun one, which is you can always change the text on the buttons. So instead of like submit, you could make that say, "I want more clients." So finding little ways to drive home that, yeah, you click this button, you take this action, you unlock this outcome. It's a super subtle thing. It's not going to make or break the landing page, but like it is a nice thing to spot.
Thank you for pointing that out. I actually had that there, but I had some Daniel knows this. I had some troubles with the opt-in, so I had to like change the opt-in, and then it must have lost its text. So thank you. I've got to change that.
Yeah, awesome. No, this is great. Thanks for hot seating this. And let us know in PGA how this gets received too. You know, does the client love it? What questions or objections do they have? I think it's always interesting to see what they say, because you're a big part of ghostwriting is learning how to navigate that with the client and learning how to educate them and learning how to be like, that's not really a good idea. You know, like that's a
Yeah.
whole part of it. So yeah, keep us posted.
I actually already sent this to them. So the only piece of feedback they had, it was just literally a small copy change to written by Aaron Watson, blah blah blah, like just a really small tweak, and they didn't
Mhm.
say anything else. So I'm like,
Yeah,
I'm assuming he liked it. So he's been a good client so far in terms of not too picky.
that's awesome. But okay, funny little thing to notice with that, and everyone here, it's going to happen to you. That is an amazing little signal where the person goes, yeah, I have no idea how any of this works, but like when you're talking about me and my bio, that's the one thing I have an opinion on, you know? So that's awesome. That means you're crushing it, and I'm very curious to hear how this performs.
Totally. I'll let you know when we run the paid ads. Will definitely be really interesting. And yeah, thanks for your time.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for workshopping this. This one was great. Pat, your question too in the chat is a good one. So, as a sales call strategy, when you let's see, better to educate with questions as opposed to providing answers. So, quick little crash course on um sales, okay? When you are doing sales, 90% of the game is asking questions. You should only start to educate the client once they've told you essentially what their problem is, what they want, what outcome they desire, right? So for anyone here who's starting to enter the cold outreach phase, or you're starting to get on the phone with clients, the first 15 minutes of the call should be just you asking questions, you know, and not being afraid to ask questions. You're like, hey, awesome, thanks for taking the time. Mind sharing with me what's working really well, or what's the biggest obstacle you're running into with your business right now? They're going to tell you. They're going to be like, man, I'm having a really hard time getting people on our email list. They're like, oh, interesting. Okay, tuck that away. Why do you think that is? What are some of the things that you've tried? Right? They're going to tell you what they've tried. They're going to be like, I've tried ads and it didn't work. And I tried posting on Twitter for 2 days, but none of my stuff went viral. They're going to tell you all the answers. Right? And then after that, you're like, oh, interesting. So why, just so I better understand, like, why do you want more people on your email list? What does that lead to for your business? They're like, oh, we have a coaching offer. We sell it for $2,000, and we know, every email that we get is worth, you know, the total LTV is worth like 3 grand to us because we sell them on this and then we upsell them on this. So emails are like the core of our business. You're like, oh, awesome. Okay, so we're on the same page. If we can get you more email opt-ins, that is going to have a measurable impact on your business. Yeah, got it. Okay, like 3 questions, you now know everything to speak to, right? Because you know what's the biggest problem. You know what they've tried. So you're not going to tell them that. You're not going to say, oh, you should try the thing you already tried that didn't work, right? And you know what they want. You know what it's worth to them. Once they tell you the answer, then you go, well, here's how I can help. Because how can you help? Well, the thing that you're offering solves that problem, is different than what they've tried, and very clearly helps them unlock the outcome they already told you is valuable to them. If you can do that, you win. That's the sales game. And then you just go do that to as many people as you can find. Right. So yes, to answer the question more directly, I always like starting with information gathering before starting to go, okay, now let me explain to you why I'm recommending this or why I think this is a good idea. All right, we're going to jam a bit on that note. The way to think about content, is anyone here currently trying to, either you're writing on Twitter/X, you're writing on LinkedIn, who here is experimenting with the warm lead strategy? All right, you're publishing content and you're trying to get leads from it. Yeah, Niru, Ishan. Awesome. Damien, Groove, yep. Gianna, Scott. Okay, great. So here's the way that most people think about writing content on the internet. They think of it as if it's this amorphous thing. There's no human being audience. They just think I write some things and then the numbers go up. Right? That's the way that most people think about it. And that is not the way to think about it for you. You have to think about content as a lead gen education flywheel for your business at scale. It's a very convoluted way of saying all of the things that you would say on a sales call, you're repeating yourself manually every time you say them on a sales call. Content is your ability to say them once and have them distributed to lots and lots of people. Okay. So here's what I mean. And then we'll get into the magical ways here in a little bit. So as a little exercise, client questions. Okay. Especially for anyone who started to get into sales calls, drop in the chat. What is a question that a client has asked you when you get on the phone with them? You're selling them, you're pitching them. What's a question? Awesome. Is this going to work for my niche? How will I get traffic to this? I already have a lead magnet. Why do I need an EEC? What is an EEC? Why do I need an email list? These are all great questions. Can you show me some case studies? What's your process for writing these emails? It's amazing. What do I do if I don't have a newsletter? How does an email course increase like email customer conversions? Okay, amazing. These are great questions, right? Now, it's really inefficient for you to take sales call after sales call after sales call, right? You're going to do it, but if you really pull back and ask the question, it's really inefficient for you to repeat yourself over and over and over and over and over again, right? Or maybe more specifically, wouldn't it be great if before you got on a call, the client already heard your answer to all of these questions? Like, what would the call look like then? They walk into the call and they're like, I already read your piece on whether this is going to work on for my niche. I already read your piece on how I get traffic to this asset. I already read your piece on what an EEC is. So they're walking into the call fully educated. What is the likelihood that they convert as a client on that call? It's way higher, right? Because you've already educated them. So when people think about content, they think about it through this lens of like, I don't really know who this is for, but I just want to go viral and I know I need followers. So like, I guess that's the game. And that's not the game. The game with content is to build a library that basically answers all the questions that your target client has. Full stop, right? So how do we do this? Okay, so let's just make this super actionable. And we're going to record this. So feel free, like if you don't feel like you have to write every little thing down, you can always reference the recording. But if you want to sort of do this in real time, go ahead and do this along with me. So one of the frameworks I talk about all the time is that in nonfiction writing, if you understand these 10 ways, you can write and expand literally anything. Anything. Everything is tips, stats, steps, lessons, benefits, reasons, mistakes, examples, questions, personal stories. Okay. So let's just combine these two ideas. We'll just go question by question. Is this going to work for my niche? A client that is asking this question, which one of the magical ways, there's several that could work, but drop in the chat, which one of the magical ways answers this question? Reasons this will work for your niche. Examples this will work for your niche, right? A personal story of someone in your niche who did this successfully, right? Yeah, maybe stats would work. Maybe, I mean, steps is how does this work for my niche, right? But really, they're saying, is this going to work for my niche? They want reasons. That's what they want, right? That's what they want. So, how do you turn this into content? 3 reasons an EC will work for your niche. Doesn't matter what it is. This is the title of an atomic essay if you wanted to. This is the beginning of a Twitter thread if you wanted to. This is the first sentence of a tweet if you wanted to, right? So if we make this just a tweet, for example, 3 reasons an EC will work for your niche. All right, let's do this all together. Drop in the chat. What's one reason an EC will work for your niche? Doesn't matter what it is. Let's crowdsource it. Everyone needs to be educated before they buy. It gives people a teaser of your paid offering and nurtures potential customers on autopilot. No-brainer asset for every business. There's a tweet. Okay, you're done. But the thing that's important to recognize is like, we didn't just write a tweet. What we did is we added one block to your content library that scales all of the same questions that you're going to answer on a sales call, right? And here's what's going to happen. This is the mind-blowing moment that it only clicks when you experience it. Okay, so that's why I encourage everyone here, like, take exactly what we're doing and go apply it to whatever type of client you're trying to attract. Okay, the mind-blowing moment is when you get on a sales call and a client goes, you know, right before I hopped on here, I saw your post about like 3 reasons an EEC will work for your niche. And I just thought that was really interesting. And you're going to realize in that moment, one small piece of content that you created just educated someone that increased the likelihood of them wanting to work with you and pay you thousands of dollars. And your brain's going to explode when that happens. And then imagine what happens when you have 100 of these, right? So the client reads the first one and goes, wow, that's really interesting. What is the next thing they're going to do? Drop in the chat. The client reads this and they're on your Twitter profile, or they're on your LinkedIn. What is the very next thing they're going to do? They're going to read another one. That's right. They're going to go, oh, that was interesting. Scroll. What's the next post, right? How about, why do I need an email list? Okay, here's the next post. 3 reasons every business owner, or you could really replace this with like whatever type of company you're trying to target, right? Say 3 reasons every business owner, or SaaS startups, or productivity apps, or whatever it is. 3 reasons every business owner needs an email list. All right, let's run it back. Drop in the chat. What's one reason every business owner needs an email list? You own your audience. You can close clients on autopilot. You can build trust in your sleep. No email list equals infinitely harder business model. Okay. There's another tweet. But did we really write a tweet? No. We added another block to our content library that educates our potential clients on what we do, problems it solves, right? So client reads first tweet and goes, wow, that's really interesting. Client reads second tweet and goes, oh, I didn't think about it like that, right? So what happens when a client reads 10 of these? They're going to email you, or they're going to show up to the call and go, I just read 10 things on your Twitter profile. It's fascinating. Can you tell me more about that? Okay. So the goal is not virality. The goal is, how do you build a library that answers all the questions that someone would have at scale? Right. And you all see, I do this with PGA. I'm like, what are the questions that you would have before deciding I want to invest in myself as a ghostwriter? And a good chunk of my content answers those questions, right? Why do you want to start ghostwriting? Well, here's why, right? What are the reasons ghostwriting is such a powerful vehicle? Well, here are the reasons. How do I start ghostwriting? Well, here are some tips for how to start ghostwriting, right? So your content library is basically doing sales for you at scale, all right? But let's push this a little bit further. Is this clicking for everyone? Just quick pause. Is this helpful? Drop in the chat. Let me know. I want to make sure that this is landing. All right. We're not out here playing the virality. I got 1,000 likes, but wrote brain dead clickbait content. That's not the goal here. Okay. We are scaling your business. That is the goal. Awesome. All right. Now, here's what always happens whenever we dig into stuff like this. Okay. So I've highlighted this tweet. Now let's just say, let's see how many people we got on this call. We got 43 people on this call. Let's just say that all 43 of us wake up tomorrow and are just feeling really lazy. And so everybody here copy and pastes this exact same tweet, and everybody publishes it on their own X/Twitter account, right? Let's just say that happens. So you're sitting there and you're going, Cole, this is all really generic advice. How do we all differentiate, right? How do I make sure that my short form post isn't the same as Daniel's short form post, right? The key is this, is naming who it's for, okay? And I want to do this together to really drive home how small of a change this is, how it has such a massive impact, okay? So if you go 3 reasons, everyone drop your current working niche in the chat. I want to see what people are playing with. So 3 reasons, digital marketing agencies. And then we're going to go 3 reasons, HR SaaS startups. And then, you know what, just for good measure, we'll do 3 reasons, digital art creators. Okay. And then we're going to take needs an email list, needs an email list, needs an email list. Okay. So I'm going to ask, I think Stella, you were the first one. Okay. Stella, I want you to drop in the chat 3 reasons digital marketing agencies need an email list. Noman, I want you to drop in the chat 3 reasons HR SaaS startups need an email list. And Damien, 3 reasons digital art creators need an email list. So drop them in the chat real quick. All right. And your 3 reasons should be specific to your audience. And if this is always a fun little experiment, right? If you are being specific enough, your tweet, your 3 reasons will be different than the other people's. And if you are being broad, they will all look like this. I feel like we're in like you ever see like the cooking competition shows? They're like, we got 7 more minutes to pull this banana bread out. Okay. Noman, perfect. We're going to put this in here. So nurture free trial users to paid users. Encourage casual subscribers to try the free trial, retain paid customers. Awesome. Does a digital marketing agency have to deal with free trial users? No, it doesn't. Do digital marketing agencies have to encourage casual subscribers to try the free trial of their product? No, they're not selling a product. They're selling a service, right? All right, Stella, let's grab yours. So we've got book more sales calls on autopilot, get higher quality prospects on the phone, stop relying on the social algorithm gods to show you your content to ideal clients, start owning your traffic. Awesome. Okay. Now here's the thing. It's really fun to do this for your niche and then for someone else's niche and notice the things. All right, and then Damien, we'll throw yours in here too, okay? So we have update audience on new art projects, update audience on new courses, give audience first dibs on new products. Okay. So this one is amazing, right? Because you can't copy this bullet and put it under this one or this one, right? It only makes sense in this topic. Updating audience on new art projects. A digital marketing agency is never going to do that. An HR SaaS startup is never going to do that, right? But where you can see this start to break a little bit is update the audience on new courses, right? Like, what if an HR SaaS startup has an education course, right? You're like, oh, okay, like maybe I could copy that bullet, right? Or a digital marketing agency. Maybe the agency has both services and courses. It's a little more broad. So the exercise that everyone here should do is, as you go through this piece of naming who this is for, this doesn't have to be your be all end all. Just for this one post, just this one tweet, you're like, this is who this is for. And how do I come up with specific things that have to do with that audience? And if you find yourself writing a bullet that you could copy paste and put under lots of other different types of niches, that means it's probably too broad. You want to be specific like this, right? The more specific, the better. Yeah. So Damien, exactly. Third bullet, give audiences new dibs on new customizational digital paintbrushes. Right. Only someone in Web3 is going to know what that means. Right. And that's a good thing. Right. So all of, whenever people talk about content, it drives me nuts. It's like it's approached through this lens of like, you got to use standout words like crazy or unbelievable, or you got to write headlines that are just, I got your attention. It's like, that's not the goal. The goal is whatever service you're providing or whatever product you're selling, it's the same thing. But if you're providing a ghostwriting service, your content library is really all the things that you know that the client's going to ask you. It's selling people like literally on autopilot. I don't use that phrase as like, oh, that's a catchphrase, everyone should use it. Like, if you want to sell people on autopilot, you quite literally have to sell them via a library that you built that runs whether or not you are paying attention to it. All right. So your library on the internet lives 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So every person here, I really encourage you, especially, going into this weekend, maybe block an hour or two and think about what are all the questions that I find myself asking, or I find clients asking me, or even questions that you see other people saying clients asked them in the sales channel in PGA, right? Because if you see some other ghostwriter got asked, why do I need an email list? Well, you should probably plan on someone asking you that same question, right? So you make a list. What are all the questions that someone could ask me? And every time you sit down to write content, this is where you start. Everything you create should be answering these questions. And it's not until you have a fat library asking or answering all of these questions that then you should even consider going, okay, and like, what are some other interesting things that I could write about? Like all that is just like shiny object, fun, sure, gravy on top. But this is what drives the business. And if anyone has seen, we did a bunch of PGM hot seats before the break. A couple people in our mastermind. One of them was Matthew. Matthew in our mastermind's doing like 40 or 50 grand a month. And he has like 2 or 3 thousand Twitter followers. And a lot of what he's posting is just this. It's like, hey, I know you're going to ask me why you need an email list, so I should probably just tell you now. And then someone's like, oh, that was really interesting. Do you have time to talk? Yep. Right? It's so simple, we make it complicated. So I know I just threw a lot at you. A, is this helpful? Is this sticking? B, any follow-up questions? Anything people want to dig into? We got a couple minutes here. But yeah, Neil, it's the exact same thing. Like a lot of the things that you're going to end up experimenting with in terms of DMs, like really, that's also just content. It's like the same thing you would tweet is sort of the same thing that you would DM to people. Like if you really are internalizing this educational lens, it doesn't matter if it's a DM or it's a piece of content or it's a sales call. You're saying the same things, right? So that's why it's the more that you build a library where you already know how you're going to answer all these things, like the ultimate benefit of writing is that if you write content that answers all of these questions, how much more prepared are you when someone asks you that on a sales call? They're like, how does an email course increase customer conversions? You're like, well, not only have I written 5 things about this, but I've fully internalized it and now I can explain it to you perfectly. Right? So that's one of the second order effects of writing is how much it clarifies your thinking. Yeah, Stella. So stuff like commenting on other people's accounts like couldn't hurt, right? You know, why not? I tend to think, whenever you're asking yourself, what should I do? The question is always rooted in the context of, well, how much time do you have? If you have infinite time, you should do everything, right? Because if there weren't 24 hours in a day, if you literally had infinite time, then you would do every possible thing you could possibly do, right? But because time is a constraint, the question isn't really like, should I do this or shouldn't I? It's how much time do you have? And so what do you prioritize? And if you only have a limited amount of time for a warm lead strategy, the thing that has the largest long-term impact is building a library. Because that library is going to work for you. It's going to work for you this week. It's going to work for you this month. It's going to work for you this year. It's going to work. I still get people reaching out to me from things I wrote 8 years ago. So that's the thing that has the highest impact. But then if you're like, okay, I'm already doing all that, then sure, right? Gravy on top. Go comment on people's posts. Yeah, David, same thing. Newsletters are a great example of this. Like a lot of times newsletters, you don't see crazy growth in the first couple months, sometimes for 6 months, but then all of a sudden you have a newsletter for 2 years and you're like, wow, people are finding me in these really obscure ways, right? It's because your library is working for you. You built it. Caroline, that's a good question. How often do you add a CTA to these posts? So the short answer is you can do it as much or as little as you'd like. I would err on the side of add more CTAs, not less. Like as long as you're helping people, it doesn't hurt to say, hey, and by the way, here's how else I can help. But for anyone here, a tool that Dickie and I both use is called Hype Fury. And Hype Fury has some cool advanced features where you can do things like set limits on a tweet, for example. So you can publish a tweet and then you can say, once the tweet reaches 10 likes or once the tweet reaches 50 likes, I want you to respond with a CTA. So you're only adding the CTA to the things that are performing well. It's an advanced thing that is really not going to like make or break the effort here, but it is a cool feature to know about. Awesome. Any other questions before we wrap up here? Great. I'm glad, Stella. Yeah. Something we're really wanting to prioritize this new year is doing hot seats for people that are especially in the phase of like talking to clients or have landed a client, really in that because we have so many other resources leading up to that. And then doing like workshops like this. So I hope, was this helpful for everyone? Would you like to see more of these types of things? I'm always happy to do some live writing. Um, yeah, whatever is helpful. Great. Yeah. And Noman, I saw your question, like this idea of top of funnel content. Like when people say top of funnel, what they're really trying to say is like, how do I get the widest number of people possible? And I am such a firm believer that the biggest missed opportunity with people's content is not thinking about it like this library that you can reference over and over and over again. Like I can't tell you how powerful it is if you were to write a really great piece, like really explaining why an EEC is valuable to a specific type of business or a specific type of niche or whatever the topic is, but you really are like, I want to make this a super valuable resource. One of the things that you can do, and not very many people do this, but one of the things you can do is say you're talking to a client and they're lukewarm and they decide not to close. Well, what's a really easy way of reigniting that conversation 3 weeks from now, or a month from now, or 3 months from now? You send them that piece. You're like, hey, I wrote this. I thought it would be helpful. I remember when we chatted, you were a little unclear about the value of this. I just wanted to send this over. I thought this might be helpful for you. Amazing low pressure way of reigniting a conversation. And B, what happens if they go, wow, that is really interesting. Do you have time to talk again? And then they go and pay you 5 grand. When that happens, I find that before that moment happens, everyone's focused on followers and views and vanity metrics. And after they experience that, they go, who cares how many likes it got? Who cares? I just wrote something that got me a $5,000 client, right? So that's why I really want to drill home and double click on, like, it's a little bit misleading to think like top of funnel. It's like, what are you really chasing? You know, this is really the focus. How are you answering people's questions at scale? And how can you write things and create things that you can point to over and over and over again? Awesome. Well, happy Thursday, everyone. I love jamming on this stuff. Um, I think that it continues to be one of the most undervalued opportunities on the internet. And I can't emphasize enough how much every single person needs help with this. Every single person needs help with this in their business. So there is no shortage of opportunity. And if you're starting to get into cold outreach and you're like, I'm struggling, I'm not getting responses, or I'm not getting sales calls, or I had one sales call and they didn't close, remind yourself, there are 100 million people in the world who need what you do. Minimum. Minimum. All you have to do is just go find them. And you have all the skills to do that. So happy Thursday. Thanks everyone for making the time. Enjoy the day. We'll talk soon. See you.